France has detained a man suspected of being a militant commander during Liberia's first civil war in the 1990s. Kuntike is a Dutch citizen and has been charged with crimes against humanity, including torture and cannibalism. Now, the 44-year-old man arrived in France in 2016 after leaving the Netherlands and passing through Belgium. According to police, it is alleged he was a former commander of the United Liberation Movement of Liberia for Democracy. During the country's civil war period, Ulimo was set up in the 1990s to fight a rebel force headed by the warlord-turned-president Charles Taylor, who is currently serving a 50-year prison sentence for atrocities in neighboring Sierra Leone. Now, Liberia was devastated by two civil wars, which killed around 250,000 people between 1989 and 2003. Well, Kuntike is suspected of torture, murder, slavery, the use of child soldiers, as well as cannibalism. Now, Paris prosecutors had opened an initial investigation after a rights group for the victims filed a criminal complaint in July. Well, Romain Wave is a legal counsel for Citvas Maxima, and he joins us from Geneva. Thanks for taking time to talk to us. What was Kuntike alleged, what was his role in this during the war?
Well, good evening. Kuntike was a commander during the first civil war in Liberia. He was a commander of the infamous Ulimo faction. So it's difficult now to go too much in the detail, but the Ulimo faction is already well known for the crime committed by them. Recently, in October, general of the Ulimo, the Jungle Jabba, was tried in the US for lying about his past in his immigration proceeding, and he was sentenced for 30 years of jail because of his lie. And during this trial, we had to, well, the victim went to court to testify about what they suffered from this individual. And indeed, as you mentioned earlier, when you introduced this information, they are we reproach them to all kind of infraction as cannibalism, torture, murder, rapes. Then I cannot obviously talk too much in detail about this Kuntike because the proceeding is ongoing.
All right, but Liberia itself, the authorities there have not or have been reluctant to investigate the crimes that were committed then. What has triggered this particular investigation from your side?
Well, we work closely with our sister organization in Monrovia, which is called the Global Justice and Research Project, which is led by Mr. Hassan Biliti, and they are doing all the investigation on the ground. And we in Civitas Maxima are only the lawyer network, and we, with all the information they gather on the ground, we then assess the credibility of the victim and then cross all the information we have until we can file a complaint. And then there is also the work of finding the whereabouts of those individuals.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, so what happens then now legally? I mean, he's been arrested, he's been charged. What's the next step?
Well, the next steps will be the investigation will start. We, as Civitas Maxima, will be part of the trial because the French proceeding allows us to do so, and then we will have access to the proceeding. Now we don't know exactly how far the investigation went. I believe that they have done already some strong investigation, and they went actually really fast. So I don't know exactly what they have in the case, but what is likely that at some point the victim we know will go to testify. They will be called to testify about what they suffered from this individual.
All right, Romain Wave, thank you very much indeed for updating us on that developing story for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's now take a quick look at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. Officials in Mexico say they have found at least 166 human skulls in a mass grave in the eastern state of Veracruz. It's thought the remains were buried at least 2 years ago. Investigators are still searching at several sites and say they cannot rule out finding more bodies. An outbreak of acute diarrhea in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region has killed 10 people over the past 2 weeks, and more than 1,200 people have the illness. The authorities have put the spread of the disease down to unsafe drinking water and identified contaminated holy water in some of the region's monasteries as being behind the outbreak. The police in Ethiopia say preliminary investigations show that the death of the chief engineer of a controversial mega dam project was a suicide. In July, Simignu Bekele was found dead in his car in a busy square in Addis Ababa.